Hello Army, welcome back to my channel. Okay, I need you to think back with me for a second. I need you to think about the very first time you ever noticed V and Jungkook together. Not on stage performing a highly rehearsed number. Not in a music video with perfect lighting and careful editing. Just the two of them, existing in the same space, being themselves together. Because if you have been Army for any significant length of time, you probably noticed something early on. Something that was difficult to define precisely but impossible to miss. There is a specific quality to how V and Jungkook interact with each other that is different from how either of them interacts with anyone else in the world. A specific ease. A specific language. A specific kind of joy that is simultaneously completely chaotic and completely comfortable. And what happened at the BTS Ararang World Tour concert in Tampa, Florida has taken that observation and turned it into something that even people outside of this fandom, even people on Korean internet forums who engage with idol content with a level of cool detachment that is practically a sport, have been unable to stop talking about. Because V and Jungkook did their handshake on stage in Tampa. And their handshake is not a handshake anymore. It has not been a handshake for a very long time. And the internet, both Korean and international, has completely lost its mind over it in the most wonderful possible way. But before we get into all of it, if you are new here, welcome to the channel. This is your home for everything BTS, every Army moment worth celebrating, and every piece of content that helps us understand and appreciate the 7 men of BTS a little more deeply. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let us talk about V and Jungkook and what 10 years of accidental practice looks like when it finally shows up on the world's biggest stage. So to fully appreciate what happened in Tampa, we need to go back to the beginning. We need to talk about chotings, because that word is the key to everything. For anyone who might not be fully familiar with the term, chotings is a fan-created nickname that has been used by ARMY for years to describe V and Jungkook together as a pair. The word itself is a playful Korean term that roughly translates to elementary school kids, or more specifically, it captures that particular energy of children who are just slightly too old to be completely unself-conscious but still young enough to have no filter, no performance, no calculation in how they interact. The energy of kids who do whatever occurs to them, who find the same things funny, who develop their own private games and rituals and inside jokes without any awareness that the rest of the world might be watching. That is chotings energy. And V and Jungkook have been operating with precisely that energy since they were both teenagers figuring out what it meant to be trainees and then idols and then global superstars together. And somewhere in those early years, out of that chotings energy, the handshake was born. Except calling it a handshake is already doing it a disservice, because what they have developed over 10 plus years of friendship is not really a handshake at all. A handshake is a greeting. A handshake is a formal gesture between two people who may or may not know each other well. What V and Jungkook have is something more like a physical conversation. A dialogue conducted entirely through the movement of their hands and arms and bodies. A sequence of gestures that has been developing organically over years, each new encounter between them adding something, refining something, building on what existed before, until what started as two silly boys doing a secret greeting has evolved into something so complex and so precisely synchronized that watching it feels less like watching two friends say hello and more like watching two dancers perform a duet they have spent years perfecting together. Except they never perfected it intentionally. It just grew. Naturally. Inevitably. The way all things between V and Jungkook seem to grow. The Tampa concert gave us the most recent and most elaborate version of this handshake that any fan has ever documented on camera. And when the fan footage started circulating, the reaction was immediate and it was enormous. Videos of the moment spread across every platform within hours of the concert ending. Twitter was flooded. TikTok was flooded. Instagram was flooded. Fan accounts that cover V and Jungkook individually and as a duo were posting and reposting the clips with the kind of enthusiasm that this fandom reserves for the very best moments. And in the comments sections of every single one of those posts, you could find people saying the same things in 100 different languages. Things like "I cannot believe how long that is." Things like "How do they remember all of that?" Things like "This is not a handshake, this is a whole performance." Things like "I have watched this clip 47 times and I am still not done." But the reaction that really made this story blow up beyond the usual ARMY circle was what happened on Korean internet forums. specifically on Taku, which for those who do not know is one of the most active and most influential entertainment discussion forums in Korea. Taku is the kind of place where K-pop fans who have seen everything and who are not easily impressed by anything go to discuss and debate and react to news and content from the industry. Getting a positive and enthusiastic response on Taku is not guaranteed simply by being famous or being talented. The users there have high standards and they express their opinions directly. And when clips of V and Jungkook's Tampa handshake started appearing on Taku, the response was exactly the kind that makes a moment feel genuinely culturally significant. Korean netizens on Taku wrote things like, "These chotings are so adorable. If it is that long it should already be called choreography, not a handshake." They wrote that watching the clip was like watching two people who had developed their own entire language and were fluent in it in a way that nobody else in the world could be. They noted the speed of the sequence, the absolute synchronization between V and Jungkook as their hands and arms moved through what has become an extraordinarily long and complex series of movements, and they marveled at the fact that both of them clearly have every single beat of it memorized completely. No hesitation. No missed connections. No moment where one of them has to pause and remember what comes next. Perfect, fluid, joyful synchronization between two people who built something together over 10 years without ever once sitting down and deciding to build it. And that last part is what I keep coming back to, because I think it is the most remarkable thing about this entire story. The handshake was never planned. It was never workshopped in a practice room. There was never a meeting between V and Jungkook where they said, "Okay, let us design a special greeting sequence and rehearse it until we have it memorized." Everything that exists in that handshake today grew from moments of spontaneous interaction, from one gesture that made them both laugh in 2014 or 2015 that became a thing they did every time, from a new movement that one of them added on a whim that the other immediately picked up and incorporated, from 10 years of two people who genuinely delight in each other's company finding new ways to express that delight in the specific physical language they have created together. It is organic in the truest possible sense. And the result of that organically accumulated decade of interaction is something that Korean entertainment professionals and casual fans alike are describing as choreography. I want to stop here and really appreciate what that means. BTS choreography is created by professional choreographers who spend weeks or months designing movement sequences, then taught to all 7 members through intensive rehearsal periods, then refined and perfected through dozens of performances before it ever reaches an audience. It is intentional, meticulous, and the product of enormous amounts of deliberate work by multiple people. And yet the thing that V and Jungkook built accidentally, through nothing more than 10 years of being themselves together, has reached a level of complexity and precision that makes people instinctively compare it to that same category of work. That is not a small thing. That is a testament to something real and deep about the nature of their friendship. Now let us talk about what makes V and Jungkook specifically the pair that produces this kind of thing, because I think it is worth examining rather than just marveling at the result. Because BTS has 7 members and many of those members have deep and genuine friendships within the group. But the specific dynamic between V and Jungkook is something that has its own distinct character that makes exactly this kind of development possible and maybe even inevitable. Both V and Jungkook are people who approach life with an enormous amount of creative spontaneity. They are both people who find joy in invention, in play, in doing things simply because doing them feels good and interesting and fun in the moment. V's entire public persona is built on a kind of beautiful unpredictability, a willingness to be completely himself in whatever direction that self decides to go on any given day. Jungkook, meanwhile, has always been someone who throws himself completely into whatever engages him, who picks things up with extraordinary speed and then immediately wants to take them further. Put those two energies together in a friendship that has lasted since their mid-teenage years, that has been forged through years of shared dormitory living and shared stages and shared experiences of becoming something extraordinary together, and you get exactly the conditions under which something like this handshake grows. Two people who are creatively alive, who genuinely delight in each other, who have enough shared history to have developed genuine shorthand, and who have never once been self-conscious enough about each other to stop doing the thing simply because it is silly or strange. There is also something specifically beautiful about the fact that this handshake has continued to evolve. It has not become a fixed ritual that they perform exactly the same way every time, a frozen artifact of a specific moment in their friendship. It is alive. It continues to grow. Each time they do it, there seems to be something new, something added, something extended. Fans who have been carefully cataloging V and Jungkook moments for years have noted that the version documented in Tampa is noticeably more elaborate than versions captured even a year or two ago. The sequence is longer. The movements are more intricate. The synchronization is, if anything, even more effortless despite the increased complexity. As their friendship has deepened and matured through the shared experience of military service, of BTS's hiatus, of their solo careers, of everything that has happened in the past several years, so has the handshake. It is a living record of a relationship that is itself still growing. And there is something deeply moving about that when you think about it in the context of what BTS as a group has been through in the time since V and Jungkook first started developing this silly, wonderful, increasingly elaborate greeting. They have been through the extraordinary pressure of becoming the most successful Korean music act in history. They have been through creative challenges and personal challenges and the specific challenge of being 7 individuals trying to maintain genuine friendships while living every aspect of their lives under global public scrutiny. They have been through a period of separation during their respective military service periods, times when they were not sharing a stage or a dormitory or a daily life, when the ordinary texture of the friendship had to be sustained across distance and duty. And they came off the other side of all of that and got on a stage in Tampa, Florida, in front of 60,000 people, and did their handshake. And it was longer and more intricate and more joyfully synchronized than it has ever been before. That is not nothing. That is actually everything. The reaction from ARMY to the Tampa handshake has been, predictably, overwhelming and completely wholesome. Fan accounts dedicated specifically to V and Jungkook's friendship, the community that sometimes calls itself Taekook shippers or simply Taekook stans, erupted immediately when the footage started circulating. But notably, the response was not limited to that specific community within ARMY. General BTS fans, people who follow all 7 members and celebrate the group as a whole, were equally enthusiastic. Because there is something about watching V and Jungkook do their handshake that transcends any specific shipping dynamic and just makes you feel happy about the existence of friendship as a concept. It is the kind of thing that makes you want to call your own best friend and tell them you love them. It is the kind of thing that reminds you that some of the best things in life are the things that grew without anyone planning them, the things that just accumulated over years of 2 people choosing to show up for each other. Multiple ARMY who attended the Tampa concert in person have posted about the moment in the days since, and what is striking about their accounts is not just the enthusiasm, which was predictably enormous, but the specific quality of the reaction in the stadium. Because when V and Jungkook launched into their handshake on that Tampa stage, 60,000 people did not just cheer. They laughed. They cried. They pointed at each other as if to say, "Are you seeing this? Do you see what is happening right now? Can you believe this is something that exists in the world?" The reaction was the particular blend of joy and disbelief and affection that this specific duo has always produced in the people who love them, and experiencing it collectively inside a stadium that size apparently elevated it into something genuinely transcendent. There is a video that has been widely shared from inside the Tampa concert that captures a small group of fans near the front of the standing section during the handshake moment. And what strikes me about this video is that every single person in the clip has a completely different but equally overwhelmed expression on their face. One person has both hands pressed over their mouth. One person is doubled over laughing. One person is actively crying happy tears while also laughing. One person is just standing completely still with an expression of pure open-mouthed wonder. All different responses. All undeniably genuine. All produced by the same moment. V and Jungkook doing their handshake on the Tampa stage and being exactly and completely themselves, exactly as they have been for 10 years, exactly as they will presumably continue to be for as long as they are both alive and capable of executing what has become one of the most elaborate informal greeting sequences in the history of human friendship. As we continue through the Ararang World Tour, as BTS makes their way from Tampa to El Paso to Mexico City to Stanford to Las Vegas and all the way around the world over the next year and a half, ARMY is going to be watching every concert for the next handshake. For the next version. For whatever V and Jungkook add between now and the next time they do it on stage, because they will add something. That is the nature of what they have built. It does not stop. It does not get frozen in amber. It grows because they grow. And every new version is going to be documented and celebrated and shared across every platform and watched on repeat by millions of people who find something profoundly comforting and genuinely beautiful in the sight of two people who have been best friends for over a decade, who have been through everything together, who stand on the biggest stage in the world having sold out stadiums on every continent, and still greet each other like a couple of chodings who cannot believe their luck at having found a friend this good. 10 years. 1 handshake. 0 rehearsal. And somehow the most synchronized and most joyful thing that happened on a stage that also contains some of the most polished choreography in the world. That is V and Jungkook. That is chodings. That is 10 years of accidental practice producing something that no amount of intentional practice could have created. And that is why 60,000 people in Tampa and millions of people around the world watching fan footage after the fact cannot stop smiling about it. If this video made you smile, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you are subscribed because we are covering every single moment of this Arirang World Tour and every V and Jungkook moment that comes with it. Drop a comment and tell me how long you have been following V and Jungkook's friendship. Are you a longtime Taekook fan who has been watching this handshake evolve for years? Or did the Tampa footage introduce you to this particular aspect of their bond for the first time? I want to hear everything. And let me know which version of the handshake is your favorite, if you have been keeping track. Thank you so much for watching, I will see you in the next one, and as always, purple you. Purple heart.